Former President Donald Trump put on an apron today to pull off a political stunt in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
You want to give it a try?
I do.
Working the fryer to try and claim without any evidence that Vice President Kamala Harris didn't work at a McDonald's while in college, as she said she did.
She never worked at McDonald's.
At a rally in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh Saturday, Trump issued some of his harshest insults of Harris yet.
You're a vice president. The worst. You're the worst vice president.
And the fact that these people are accusing him of a stage-managed thing, of course, the president has to have security because there have been 2 attempts on his life in the last 8 weeks. He can't just walk into a McDonald's and sign a W-9 and actually go on the payroll. That's just not how this works, especially given the security threats on his life. But look, he was interacting with people. He was talking to the employees. He was giving people food. And he was just being, I think, what he does best, which is just being among the people, talking to them about what they care about. He showed, I think, genuine interest in the employees and their lives and where they came from and what they were actually doing in their job. And that's something you can't stage and you can't fake. That is just the genuine person that Donald Trump is. And it's why I think a lot of working people, even though, of course, he's a successful real estate billionaire, have this emotional connection to Donald Trump. You can't make up that kind of connection. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris has tried and failed. And I think it's why her campaign is flailing a little bit right now, is because she goes into Sheets and does 4 takes of her buying Doritos. Donald Trump just goes into McDonald's and he is.
Yeah, folks, J.D. Vance hits it right on the political head. That Donald Trump doesn't have to fake these. Of course, it's got to be staged in somewhat. The Secret Service has got to check the cars. They've got to make sure that the location is safe. We all know that. But did you notice one thing? Did Donald Trump and his team, did they just basically kick everybody out? And just go to the fryer and just say, order me up a burger and some fries and give me a shake with that? No, that's not what he did. The interactions were real. Every time you heard about Kamala Harris going into a Sheetz or going to a restaurant, what's the first thing they did? Kick everybody out, bring in actors, and then made it look like that she was what? Chumming it up and pounding it up with the riffraff. Kamala Harris could give a damn about the riffraff and the common people. She could never have pulled this off, folks. And I said before, this was an absolutely out of political moves, political strategy. Only President Trump could have thought of something like this because it answered so many questions. It brought to the forefront just a throwaway that, Harris thought that, I'll try to connect with the common people and toss out, what could I say? Let me think. Yeah, I know, that's a ticket. Yeah, I know. I'll say that I worked at McDonald's when I was in high school or college. That'll make me resonate with the everyday American flyover country. Oh, yeah, I worked at McDonald's. And she just threw it out there, not thinking anything, because these guys are morons, they're idiots, politically. Well, guess what? It was a tiny, small story, but it's blown up. And then what did Trump do to troll her and to make this into an absolutely magnificent political strategy, both to get him publicity and to also bring up the fact that, you know what? Where is the proof that you worked at McDonald's? Where is it? So people start asking the question, the everyday person, and says, you know what? If she's going to lie about something as tiny as that, what else is she going to lie about? We know all the lies, the obfuscation, the lies about, guess what? Joe Biden, he's perfect. There's nothing wrong with him. Good old Joe, he's running rings around the staff. He gets up in the morning at 4 o'clock. He swims 50 to 100 laps every day. Then he plays an hour worth of basketball. Then he runs 10 miles. And that's all before breakfast. And then he gets in all the day's work. And then guess what? He's out on the basketball court again. He's playing handball. He's playing volleyball. He is run. Do you see him running laps? He is out lapping juniors on the staff, folks. That's a story that Kamala was peddling along with the mainstream media. So what does Trump do? billionaire, says, you know what, I'll go to work to McDonald's, I'll needle a little bit everybody, and I'll bring this story to life. And at the same time, we're going to have a huge, huge political statement. We're going to get, the publicity is going to be absolutely fantastic. We're going to put light on the fact that Kamala is lying about her McDonald's work. And you know what? But there was nothing staged about his interaction with the people. He's asking them questions. Hey, how do you work the fryer? What do you think of salt? And like, you know what? The salt, when he drops the salt and throws it over his shoulder. I mean, come on, everybody does that. He's talking to people. He's handing out food. He's telling them it's from him. He's waving to the crowd. The crowd's waving back. The noise level is absolutely unbelievable. Tens of thousands of people are lining the streets in Feasterville. I mean, the political strategy was absolutely unbelievable, folks. And what I want to share with you is I put some notes down here. I wanted to share with you, even Cenk Uygur of TYT had to admit this. And we're going to play you some clips of CNN and Democratic panels saying the same thing. They hate to admit it, but they're telling you the brilliance of the move, of this political move. We'll share all that with you. So first of all, let's take a look and see what Cenk the Jank of the Young Turks, the Young Turks had to say, because even begrudgingly, Cenk had to admit this. So take a look at this, folks. So here you see, folks, Cenk Uygur summoned the press, called Trump's McDonald's photo op bizarre. This is how you lose credibility. So finally, Cenk is admitting, after all these years, that if you don't tell the truth, you're losing credibility. That was a home run photo op. He looked like a real person there. He always looks like a real person, Cenk, but you have Trump derangement syndrome. You got TDS, you can't see it. The virus is infecting your whole freaking body. So he goes on to say, he looked like a real person there, connecting with the average American. If you can't see that, you're totally blind. That's so true. If you can't see that, you're politically inept. You're a political retard. That's what I'm going to add to that. And I've said that before, and I stand by that statement. I really, really, truly do. Now what I want to say is, what are some of the other Democratic operatives? What are they saying about this, folks? So you got to take a look at this.
Strategic move, and he had fun doing it, and clearly the people loved it, Natasha.
Josh, do you agree? A brilliant strategic move, because meanwhile, we do see Trump saying Harris never worked there, the Harris campaign having to defend that. What do you make of this back and forth?
I agree, I do. And if Democrats can't be honest, even when we may detest our opponent, then it's going to be counterproductive for us as a party. It was genius. He took what is such an infinitesimal attack that she never worked at McDonald's. It wouldn't even make the radar in a senior class president campaign, let alone a presidential campaign. And he turns it into another news cycle that he dominates. And quite frankly, it shows his ability to do retail. And I think it should spur the Harris campaign in these last 16 days to do alternative media, to take back, really the narrative, and to do shows like Joe Rogan, to do a chicken shop date and utilizing that alternative media, because if Trump continues to dominate the media dialogue for the next 16 days.
Yeah, you see, these Democratic consultants are being intellectually honest. And you very, very rarely see that. And genuinely, when they were talking, they had admiration in their voice for this unbelievably politically strategic, brilliant move. And I've talked about this. Check out our other videos. And by the way, folks, you're watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. All right, you know what to do. Like, share, and follow us if you like this content. We'd love for you to do that if we've earned it. But what I've been trying to say is that in our other videos, we talked about the fact that he is controlling the news cycle. And yes, this was such an insignificant piece in the beginning because the mainstream media, the legacy media, wasn't covering this at all. They didn't want to cover this at all. So they were giving cover to the Kamala campaign. Just like all the things that are happening with Tim A.W. Oil Walls, they cover for him because they don't bring up those stories that are detrimental to him. They hide it. They sweep it under the rug, under the carpet. But here, like I said, Trump has dominated the political news cycle every single day. Al Smith dinner, polls dropping, going on Flagrant 2, going on other podcasts, going and doing all, 2 or 3 huge meetings, town halls, wherever he can get to. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, skipping Al Smith, bad move. I mean, they don't know what to do. Where are their surrogates? Oh, you know what she's doing? She's palling around with neocons. Her big thing is we're going after Nikki Haley people, Nikki Haley moms, and we're going after Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney. We're going after their people because they're going to vote, all 7 of them. All 7 of them. Now I want to share with you, I was writing down some notes here, folks, is that, let's see here. What else we got here? Oh, yes. Take a look at an old Trump ad with Grimace from McDonald's, folks. This was back in the 90s or something. This will bring back some memories for those of you that are old enough. Check this out.
To win the world knew Trump simply as a real estate mogul and a New York City tabloid fixture.
A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret? Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
So I ask you, is that not a picture or is that not a picture? And as he says, together we can take this town. I mean, folks, the brilliance of such a simple, when you think about it, simplicity in its brilliance, the amount of free publicity, how many millions upon millions upon millions of dollars do you think somebody would have had to come up with to do an advertisement like this, where you would have had to shell out millions of dollars to do something like this? And here you've got CNN, whatever, playing a clip of Donald Trump from back in the 90s with Grimace at the McDonald's. This is unbelievable. And if you think that wasn't, just let me show you. Here's Trump going in for his job interview, folks. The guy who owns this McDonald's, can you just imagine what is happening to his business? I mean, this guy is doing freaking somersaults out there. His business just exploded by, who knows, 1 million freaking %. And all those people that were there, all the workers that were there, can you imagine? They're going to tell what stories and pictures and memories they're going to have. Hopefully they're Donald Trump supporters, which I think they are, to share with their friends and colleagues and family members that they actually, where Donald Trump was working beside them for a short period of time. Unbelievable. Check out this next clip of Trump asking for a job. This interview, folks, classic, brilliance and simplicity all rolled up into one.
Oh, now Trump is stepping behind the counter at McDonald's, this time for a campaign stop in the battleground state of Pennsylvania.
I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at McDonald's, but I never did. I'm running against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So if you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
Job interview, short, sweet, right to the point. Got there, folks. Now let's continue on with this next clip, which is the CNN panel. Again, begrudgingly having to they're laughing at this. They're loving this up. And they're trying to hide their emotional attachment to this because they're obviously not for Trump, but they're still basically giving Trump props. You very rarely see this on the legacy networks, but when it happens, it's like Halley's Comet. It's rare, but it does appear every so 100 years or weeks or years. Check out the CNN panel talking about the brilliance of Trump's political strategy going to a McDonald's. You're going to love this.
So Trump there once again claiming without evidence that Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's in the 80s. That dispute inspiring this campaign stop over the weekend. Trump, of course, No stranger to the Golden Arches, his love for fast food well documented. In 2019, Trump hosted Clemson's football team after they won the national championship and served up this spread of French fries and burgers at the White House. And during his Sunday visit to McDonald's, Trump again put on the apron. He manned the fry station. He handed out food through the drive-thru window to customers who, according to the Washington Post, were pre-screened by the Secret Service. The restaurant was closed to the public for the event.
I love salt. Wait a minute, I spilled some. I'm very superstitious.
Our panel has returned. So I have to say, when I first saw that image of Trump kind of hanging out the drive-through window, a part of me thought, wow, is that real? I never thought he would do something like that. The Trump that we saw in 1999 in that old ad is the one that was much more familiar to me. Like, look, we're going to run this town, right? Like someone who owns a McDonald's, not someone who works in one. I mean, clearly they have a strategy to try to appeal to working class voters, try to, twist the knife on Harris. But I still found these images to be jarring.
Well, part of what is so striking about them is that he's not trying to not be Donald Trump. Like some politicians go and they try to dress up as somebody they're not. He's still got the red tie. He's still so clearly himself. And I think this was an unbelievably smart move because one thing that has differentiated Donald Trump from other really wealthy politicians is that he has never been seen as the aloof, the billionaire who would never deign to hang out with the commoners. Like he has always sort of portrayed himself as, I'm the rich guy who doesn't really like the other rich guys. I'm one of you. And this is part of this. I think this was insanely smart.
Well, to that point, it is part of a larger effort on the Trump campaign to sort of soften Donald Trump's image. It's why you've seen his grandkids sort of appearing at the rally and also spoke at the RNC. There's a larger effort going on by the Trump campaign to appeal to some of those suburban women that he is currently losing.
The most humanizing moment in that clip was when he threw the salt over his shoulder. It was like such a normal reaction that anyone was like, oh, like we all do that when you're cooking or whatever. And so that was the most like normalizing and humanizing moment, I think, in this clip. But to your point, like he still has his shirt on, his tie on. Like most politicians would have showed up in like a collared shirt or something that said McDonald's and tried to like more fit in. I did find it striking that the whole restaurant was shut down and it was just sort of like a staged event, but I do think it is definitely like poking at the vice president.
I will also say though, him showing up with Grimace in that old ad, I bet that gets some more traction because Grimace is like a thing with Gen Z. Like, is he? Yes. Yeah. It's
all
a thing.
All the TikTokers, yeah.
It's a thing.
Oh, see, you guys are cooler than me.
So as you can see there, I mean, they were yucking it up, laughing about it, but they had their digs inside there, the beginning, where the moderator, she says, with unsubstantiated claims that they can't say anything for proof. Of course, but you know what? Where is her proof in terms of where she worked at a McDonald's? She can't say other, but anybody can say that. Yeah, I worked over here. Oh, you know what? There's no records of it. And then talking about that it was still a stage event. Yes, of course, it's got to be partially staged, but the interactions are not staged. That's the difference. And they know that, but they still have their admiration, but they can't give too much admiration because they've got to go to those cocktail parties and they got to answer the question, why'd you do that piece? Why'd you do that? You were telling him it was a brilliant move. Yeah, but did you hear? I did say it was staged, though. These guys are total nutsos. But thank you, CNN, and all you other Democratic strategists, and Sank the Jank of the Young Turks, for at least being intellectually honest and talking about that, how brilliant of a political move this was, and that Harris and AWOL Walls could never have thought this or could never have done this. Could you imagine Tim Walz doing that? He would have been shaking his legs, shaking his arms, and Kamala Harris would have just been cackling and laughing, and it would have been totally. I would love to see her doing that in McDonald's. It would just make for such great memes, and it would just showing her again that she just can't fit in. She's out of touch. And it would have, if she did it, it definitely would have been a political stunt, folks. It definitely would have been. Trust me on that. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you've liked this content, we've earned your praise. Subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our other video content above and below. Share with us. Comment. That helps as well. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, y'all take care and stay safe.